Hey, it's Justin Moore from Trending Family, and here are this week's top 5 trending news that are influencing families. So Forbes had a great article about how Tyson Foods is acting like a much smaller company to reach a much younger consumer. Jen Bentz, who is Senior VP of R&D, Innovation, and Insights at Tyson Foods, is tasked with keeping a pulse on some of these emerging generations like Gen Z. She mentioned they're grounded, they're pragmatic, they're part of this maker movement, and that they've got more options available to them than ever before. They've got meal kits, they've got food delivery. She mentioned that one of their biggest challenges at Tyson is they've always looked at their competitive set as other larger food companies, right? But now they're needing to kind of broaden that and look at smaller startups and look at even private label, because a lot of these smaller companies are driving a lot of growth in this sector. And so a big company like Tyson, sometimes it can be very difficult to even make minor course corrections. And so what can they do, right? They can buy startups, right, that are experiencing a lot of growth, which a lot of CPG companies do. They can hire people from startups to kind of bring some of that nimble and agile mentality into their organization, or they can try to do some reorgs, right, and restructure things to be more innovative. But if there's a lot of silos internally, that can be difficult. So it'll be interesting to see what type of product development Tyson comes up with after going through some of these initiatives. So Amazon made headlines in Bloomberg and TechCrunch with speculation that they may be acquiring Landmark Theaters. So Amazon knows that there's this whole other side of physical commerce, of experiential retail, that they haven't been able to take advantage of, right? I mean, going out to eat and going to events and going to a movie. Of course, they've opened things like bookstores, physical bookstores, and their Amazon Go stores where you just walk in, you grab an item, and you walk out. There's no cashiers. There's all these cameras and machine vision, and they know who you are, and they charge your account automatically. Of course, with the acquisition of Whole Foods also, right? And so, with this particular potential entry into the movie business, there's all this speculation. Of course, MoviePass has had all these issues. I think that's also why AMC has kind of released their competitor to that. And a lot of the movie chain stock crashed upon this news, but it hasn't even happened yet. And I think there is something to, the kind of streamlining consumers' experience in an omni-channel environment. So who knows if it'll happen, but if it does, I think it's going to be pretty powerful. So a recent eMarketer survey of 13 to 18-year-olds conducted for Screen Education, which is a nonprofit group focused on reducing screen time, found that teens consider more than half of their friends addicted to their phones. They found that there's just widespread anxiety about phone usage, ranging from feelings of pressure to respond immediately to notifications, to just being very overwhelmed by the flow of messages and information that they're receiving on a daily basis. And it's no better for adults either. According to recent data from eMarketer, the average US adult spends 215 minutes a day with their mobile device. And for parents of even younger kids, these are issues too, right? I mean, kids are getting, tablets and phones much younger than 13 these days. And so I think that's why we've been seeing a lot of time well spent features being introduced into the apps and platforms of some of these tech and social giants, right? These are settings where you can go in and say, okay, after 30 minutes or after an hour, send me a notification saying you've been on your screen too long. So I think this is an attempt to try to combat some of these anxieties, and I think we're going to continue to see that. So the New York Times talked about a recent policy statement from the American Academy of Pediatrics called The Power of Play, a pediatric role in enhancing development in young children. It said that doctors should encourage playful learning for parents and infants by writing a prescription for play at every well child visit in the early formative years. Dr. Michael Yogman, who is the chairman of the AAP Committee on Psychological Aspects of Child-Family Health, said that we're really in this climate where parents are feeling that they need to schedule every minute of structured time, and that it's somehow, play is somehow irrelevant and old-fashioned, which couldn't be further from the case. His recommendations are just to throw everyday things around the house on the ground, right? You've got pots and pans and Tupperware and just give them spoons and just let them bang around and see what they do. It doesn't need to be complicated. And that parents, when they hear these recommendations, are feeling validated. They're feeling vindicated. It's something that they wanted to do, but they feel this kind of societal pressure to do things that are somehow more enriching, right? And so I think the implications for brands here, especially if you're targeting younger consumers, is to be very supportive of these policies, right? And in your campaigns, try to incorporate some of this messaging. And TechCrunch had a great article about Google's Unskipable Labs that they've been testing ad effectiveness in a really interesting new way. They created a fake pizza brand called Dr. Fork using stock footage. They created a bunch of ads, they served them on YouTube and reached 20 million impressions. Ben Jones, who is creative director at Unskipable Labs, said that there's these axioms among advertisers, that there's just certain things that you're not supposed to do, like, for example, showing somebody chewing food and looking directly at the camera. But if everyone accepts those as doctrine and you never test that in a robust way, how are you ever going to know if that's actually the case? And so they had some interesting takeaways here. I just wanted to call out a few. Number one, immersive multi-sensory experiences drive better recall than single sensory experiences. So, using audio and visual and text, that will drive results. Also, in food ads, you want edge-to-edge food, super close-ups. And lastly, that younger audiences respond much better to first-person perspective, so like POV than older audiences. So super interesting. I think I'm really excited to see other insights that come out of Unskipable Labs.